My name is Kari. I am the communication specialist for Project Jumpstart, and I am joined by the amazing and incredible, which one should I start with? Nathan Fischer, who is a career advisor in the Office of Entrepreneurship and Career Development, and Zach, who is previously on the Jumpstart team.
I'm Zach. I live in Chicago now. I graduated in 2020 with my master's in jazz performance from the IU, and currently I'm a music teacher at a local high school, as well as gigging in Chicago and Indianapolis and a little bit in Wisconsin from where I'm from. So today I wanted to show you, Nathan also, I want you to please butt in as much as you'd like, because I can almost guarantee you know a lot more about these specific things I'm talking about, but because it was the first time for me going through all of these album checklist things. But I basically laid it out in a little presentation that I was going to give today about I did this project during my second year of my master's, so it's kind of a do-it-yourself album project as a student. So yeah, I learned so much along the process, so I wanted to share that with you, Akira, and Kari, and Nathan, and also anyone else who watches this later. So I'm going to just share my screen and we'll get going. Let's present. Cool. So, and if I'm rambling, someone or have questions, just butt in, please. So do-it-yourself album recording 101. A little about me to start. As it's loading, give it a second. It's just a few of the albums that I've been a part of. I haven't recorded a whole bunch, but these are some of the bands that I've been a part of, and all had different processes of going about this thing. So at the end of the day, doing it is the most important thing. You're going to learn the most. If you don't do it, you're not going to get through all of those things. We all covered the same ground, just in different ways, different forms. So today I'm going to be talking about Crossroads Quintet, which was a band that I co-led my entire time during my master's at IU. The things that I wanted to talk about today: recording, mixing, and mastering, album title, track list, order, stuff like that, the artwork, the design, two separate things, and then ISRCs, digital and physical music distribution with regards to PROs as well, and then marketing and promotion. We'll break all those things down, and we'll sort through it. So as I said, the project that I was going to talk about is the one I made with 5 musicians that were all in their masters. We all came in together and graduated together at IU. The saxophonist is in the middle here, Tyler Bauer. Pianist is Austin. I'm the trumpet player, obviously, on the end here. Bassist, Brendan Keller-Tuberg, and then drummer, Jameson Scriver. Jamie's in Chicago with me now, but Brendan, because of the pandemic, is back in Australia, but he's coming back to IU in the fall, so you get to see him more for a doctorate. And Tyler's in New York, and Austin's in Houston. So we all kind of scattered after graduation. But anyway, the first thing I want to talk about is recording process and engineer. So this is a band, Crossroads Quintet, which was a collective. We all work together, and that is actually, it is different for every band, but what was really nice about that is we also all paid the exact same amount of money, and so it made it a lot cheaper for each of us as we were going through the process. And I'm going to also lay out the budget. That's one thing that I didn't talk about earlier. But recording process and engineer, this was a band that we had weekly rehearsals for 2 years. We decided after a year and a half of, composing for each other, rehearsing that music, playing a bunch of gigs in Indianapolis, around Bloomington. We went down to Huntingburg, which is an OECD thing, which was really cool. We ended up deciding to record in January of 2020, about a year and a couple of months ago. I hit up the recording engineer in October, and it took a few months for his schedule to free up for 2 days for us. And so we did a weekend recording thing in January of 2020. Our release date was graduation day last year, so we really had to speed through a lot of these different aspects, but it made us learn really fast and really taught me a lot about it, and also that I wish I had a little bit more time. So definitely budget a lot of time. Notice that we started like the whole process in October, and it didn't end until May, and it felt like it was quick. So give yourself a lot of time. The engineer we chose is Jacob Belzer. A lot of us probably know Jake. He's in the audio engineer program. He's one of the professors, and he has an incredible studio called Primary Sound Studio, which is just down 10th Street, I believe, way out in the country a little bit, but amazing, amazing studio, and also extremely affordable. nice thing about Bloomington. And then the recording process, this is something that Elizabeth, prior to me giving this presentation, asked me, what was something that you think is like one of the most important things about the recording process? And number one is take care of the people you're playing with. So, and that means buy them food, bring water, bring food, bring snacks, budget their time because it's precious, and don't take them for granted. And also the most important thing that, and on any of the sideman projects that I've been on, is getting paid on the day that I did it. So if you're paying anyone, pay them on the day. I think just take care of people and they will take care of you. The other thing along with that, with regards to music, is have a plan. Say like, we're going to start at noon and we're going to do these 3 pieces today. Don't go in without a plan. I think that'll be the most efficient, and people will appreciate that if you're playing with any kind of band or just one other collaborator. And budget time for like dinner. And also, oh, this is the other thing, is buy dinner for your audio engineer. They're a human too. So like we don't avoid them, like include them. With regards to our project, the Intertwined Crossroads Quintet project, it was $35 an hour for 12 hours of recording over 2 days, which added up to $420. Super cheap. Wouldn't you say, Nathan? Like that's probably, for an hourly rate, 35 is insane.
That's what Jacob Belser charged you?
That's what he charged us, yes.
Crazy.
But I will say, the 5 of us had done a lot of work for him over the 1.5 years prior for the audio engineer program. So he may have lowered his rate maybe a little bit for the 5 of us. I'm not certain. You'd have to ask him, but it's somewhere around there. Like
I think that I know it can be higher for maybe that was like his rate he gave you guys as students.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. That's yeah, definitely a possibility. And then a week, so we recorded for 2 days, Saturday, Sunday. The following week, we did all the mixing in a day, which isn't always the case. Depends on the album and the project. And he just charged us $100 for the 6 to 7 hours we spent with him, which was also very cheap.
That's crazy.
Yeah, insane. So we saved a lot of money doing that. I would expect if you're doing it in a city or with someone that you don't know and you get their normal rates, it's going to be more than that. But I'm very grateful for what Jake did for us. So this is the most important part, but once you get through all the tracking, all the mixing, all of that stuff, and you have your product, that's what I'm going to be talking about from now on. And all of these kind of were things that were intertwined, for lack of a better word, during the same, like all at the same time. So it wasn't in order. It's all things that kind of happened simultaneously. The first thing is physical artwork. This is the artwork of our album. And the thing that is going to go a long way is trusted colleagues, friendships. If you reach out to people and say, hey, I haven't done this before, who do you recommend? And it's someone you trust, they're probably going to hook you up or at least get you in contact with someone who would know the answer. And so we found Kara Tucker, who's a professional musician and artist from Indy. And she was recommended. She sent us her portfolio. The other thing that we did is we sent her 3 tracks that haven't been released yet from the album so that she can get a feel for what we're about. That was really important to her. And it also was really nice on our end to see how invested she was in us. That was important. So once we hired her, we had, I want to say 3 to 4 phone calls about what our artwork really wanted. We had a bunch of different ideas, all because it's a collective. Everyone had a say. So it was hard to like dwindle it down to what we wanted. And what ended up happening is, like I said earlier, we're all from different places. Jamie, our drummer, is from Seattle. So she got the mountains in here. We got Austin from Houston. So she got like the fields of Houston in there. And then Wisconsin, Door County, there's like there's this thing. And then Arizona is really known for their sunsets, so she got that in there. And then Australia is like this little national park that Brendan lived nearby. So she got all 5 of the places that we came from and intertwined them into the entire artwork. And she did such an amazing job. It's so beautiful. But anyway, she was the other thing is that she also was a friend of mine, and so she gave us a really good deal. So it was $100, also pretty cheap. Right, Nathan? Yeah, I can see you shaking your head up there. Yeah, yeah, very cheap. And so then these 2 are very separate, and a lot of people will put them together. But album artwork is very different than album design. And when I say album design, I mean liner notes. I mean, where does the title go? I mean fonts. I mean, where does the UPC code go? Where does all these little things, even this box, like he had to choose that, this little graphic here. Even I remember having an hour-long phone conversation with our album designer, and we talked about this blue canvas behind the words. And we just talked about that for a very long time because we wanted it to be the perfect thing. And so we got hooked up with Jameson Rhodes, who is our designer, also from Indianapolis, recommended by Kara Tucker, who is the artist. And I also really love just how this looks when you open the CD. Like this whole, this artwork is really pretty. But anyway, I'll stop talking about that. But he also sent us his portfolio because he's worked on different albums before. His was $100 total, still cheap. We'll talk about UPC codes later, but UPC code is this code over here. So if you're trying to sell it and you send your albums to Amazon or something, try to mass sell them, you need that UPC code to sell it anywhere. And that will be found in your distribution software, which we'll get to soon. So that goes on there. Music label design, you can't really see it, but it's on the binding here, music label. And then liner notes. And our liner notes were made by Brendan Keller, bigger bassist, so we didn't have to pay him anything. And he's also a former law student, so he's really good with words. So that was really nice. So Brendan wrote all of this stuff for us in here. So it was very well done, way better than what I would have done. So the next thing, I know I'm kind of flying through this stuff, but feel free to slow me down if you have questions. The next thing we talked about, the next thing I did was we got a label, and this actually came more so even before the recording process. I reached out to a friend who records in Indianapolis all the time and asked him what label he records on, and he actually owns his own label. It's called Midwest Crush Music, and he has about 6 to 7 albums that he's released on Midwest Crush, and he's also a contemporary jazz musician, or both of them are, and they're Indianapolis-based, Joel and Nick Tucker. And Joel and Nick went to IU. They also are professors at Ball State. They're also extremely well known in the Indianapolis music scene in general. And so they were basically what we were looking at to get connected to our target audience, because they're already releasing music that sounds like ours on their label. So it was a good marketing move, but also it was very easy fit because they knew exactly where we were coming from. Joel also acted as kind of our producer. He came to every recording session, every mixing session. We were on the phone with him a lot. He actually even pitched in some money, which he didn't need to do, to the project. He was really thoughtful. So I highly recommend Joel and Nick if you're in the Indianapolis area looking for something to release on. ISRC is this. Now I'm going to get into some territory I had no clue about. And ISRCs, this is called International Standard Recording Codes. And I'll just read the definition here. It's the International Identification System for sound recordings and music video recordings. Each ISRC is a unique and permanent identifier for a specific recording, independent of the format on which it appears, CD, audio, anything. So basically every single track, you need a separate ISRC code and you have to pay for those. I was unaware of that until I did this project. And so you can get them at isrc.org. You can buy ISRC codes. If you release on a label, labels have ISRC codes, so you just ask them for it. If I want to show you, well, actually, I'll show you this in a moment when we get there. Oh, come on. But yeah, ISRC codes were something I was unaware of and that you definitely need to take care of. The next thing is physical and digital distribution. So once you have those codes, the UPC code, I chose CD Baby for my project. There are a bunch of them, but basically what physical and digital distribution software does is, well, actually talk money first. The subscription was $115. We bought 215 physical CDs to sell. And so that was a total of $616.50. And then they also release on all of these platforms. There's way more too. Those are just the hot ones that I threw on there. I looked at it when I was preparing this presentation, and we're on TikTok too. Didn't know that. Kari, TikTok coming up. I want Crossroads on there. But there's other options. So you got DistroKid, Lander, TuneCore, and more that you can use. they all kind of function similarly of getting your music out there. So UPC, now I'll show you this, UPC and ISRC location, those are within your, within the like digital distribution. All right, so if I go in here and I go to my albums and singles, there we go. Here's my UPC code right there, but it's also in here. And so let's say your album designer needs they're going to ask you for your UPC code. You literally just go into your distribution, you click on here, and you can download it and then send it to them. They'll put it on your album. Very simple. And then when you go down to your tracks and audio, each one is going to have its own ISRC code, which is right here. And notice that whatever this long number in letters are, and then it ends with 1, I go down the next track, 2, 3, they're all their unique ISRC code. So you get that from your label, or you can purchase them individually. But that is an important part you won't be able to release unless you have those in there. Everything else you can kind of choose, you know, primary genre, all this kind of stuff. Release date, all this stuff. But those two are extremely important. Okay, back to it. And then the last thing I want to talk about with label licensing and copyright is PRO, performing rights organizations. The two that we belong to are, that Crossroads Quintet belongs to, is BMI, Broadcast Music Incorporated. Both of these basically deal with royalties from different sides. And so if you're, I'm sure we've all kind of heard of these. ASCAP is the other one we belong to. And it just protects you if people are going to play your music live on the radio. You're going to get paid. And like, for instance, if you get commissioned by IU, I know IU belongs to one of these, two of these, maybe all of them. And when they report that, you know, they played Kari's, you know, composition, then Kari will get paid for it through that program. And so that, like, and radio too, it covers all of that. And so you're not going to get paid a whole lot. Actually, I was very interested to see this when I was making this presentation. When we'll talk about monetizing our album in a few minutes here, but I thought this was just super hilarious. When I was looking at what we're making, Tidal 1 cent, iTunes 16, you know how it goes. You know how these work. It's really, you're not going to get much money from these streaming services, but it's also nice to have them up there. Anyway, performing rights organizations are going to give you royalty over time, and that passive income is really nice because you don't have to do any work. So it's also great. So if you decide to become Chris Bodie for Joni or Taylor Swift, you might make some money. But now the total cost. So this is everything. All of the things I've been talking about are costs, things that we had to pay out of our pocket to get this thing all wrapped up into a nice little bow. And so recording $420, mixing $100, artist $100, design $100. These are all very cheap numbers. CD Baby, the subscription was $115, the CDs were $616. The total was under $1,500, which was incredible. I was so excited. I really wanted to keep it under $2,000, and we kept it under $1,500, which was amazing for kind of a DIY album. And what's also really nice is that we all split it 5 equal ways. So it was a total for each of us under $300. Not too bad. And so that was really great. The next thing I want to talk about with album is you need to promote it. You need to get people to buy it, listen to it, all that kind of stuff. And so promotion and marketing, I have some tips and tricks. They're really not secrets to any of us. The first one is take professional photos. I used one behind the CD in the CD wallet, I think is what it's called. But we used one of our professional photos, which was great. So we took professional photos, but specifically for promoting and marketing, take candid photos, take photos at rehearsal, recording day, dinners, drinks, activities with your band, humanize yourself. I think that's a really important thing that can go a long way to get your audience to connect with you, especially people that don't know you. So how can you connect with someone who doesn't know you? I think that's an important takeaway of just being on social media and being genuine, being yourself. We had a Facebook and Instagram for the band. The nice thing about that is we delegated jobs between the people in the band. And so Jameson, the drummer, took charge of Instagram, Tyler took charge of Facebook, and they posted on their own. And then I took care of the website. But one thing, and Kari, you probably know a lot more about this than I do, being the social media guru. But we were all reading about, what are the best social media practices to get people engaged in certain things. And so what we were doing is 2 months prior, we hit people once a week with something about the album. And then 2 weeks prior to the release, we hit them every day with some kind of content. And that content was what had to do with pictures, videos, or press, press kit quotes, having really well-known musicians. A lot of the professors at IU are really well-known musicians. And so on the national or international music scene. And so we asked them to say something nice about us, and they did, which was really cool. And so we'd post those kind of things. But just anything to get people talking about what's coming out. And then another thing is I put together a little website. It's very, very simple, but it's really nice to get gigs that way too, if you have a professional website. And then if I keep going on that idea, the thing that I really went really hard on for promotion and marketing was album reviews and interviews. And so I got a list of radio, DJs, MCs, whatever. And I emailed them and I sent them my project all the time. And for free, I just send it and they'd listen and they'd review it. And, hi, Lon.
Hey, look at you. I wanted to just quickly say hi. I'm here for a bit. I've got to run, but it's just so amazing to see you.
It's good to see you too. Thanks for popping in.
Thank you. I'll be here for 2 minutes and then leave.
Sounds good. Well, we're currently talking about promotion and marketing for albums, for DIY albums that I did last year. And so basically what I was doing is I was getting in touch with anyone who had to deal with radio or podcasts or even like TV. I tried to get one from Wisconsin where I'm from. I got someone to interview me on TV, which is really nice about this album. But the more people you can get talking, the better. And so here's a couple Crossroads Quintet links. And we actually had an album review in Australia because our bass player is from Australia, and which was really great. And so we had all these different things, people talking about us from different places. And like I said, just send your tracks for free, because they're not gonna, if they have to pay for it, they have enough stuff coming to them. It's really not gonna, you're not gonna get too much publicity that way. The other option, if you don't want to do any of this promotion and marketing, is hiring a publicist. But that's another very expensive thing that if you have the funds, it's really great. You don't have to worry about it. You just worry about the music. But that would be really expensive. We didn't do that. We did it all ourselves. It was a lot more work, but also we gained contacts. We built our network up a little bit more than if we didn't do that. So I found that to be really gratifying, a lot of work, a little frustrating at times, but worth it in the end. This was also, Nathan, you could maybe speak on this a little bit. Have you ever hired a publicist?
No. But I'm not adverse to it. I just had my last album, I made a couple of little videos, which I'm happy to show you. And I just kind of, I put it out there. It wasn't the body of work that I really wanted to, it wasn't in my mind, I didn't want to go that extra route with it at this point. I'm not saying I won't. If I did something that was more chamber, like what you did, I probably would. Yeah.
There tends to be a large amount of jazz musicians or musicians around that field that do grab publicists. Actually, Greg Ward, who's one of the jazz professors, has a really amazing one here in Chicago. But I was talking to Greg about that, and he said, if you hire a publicist, all of the work for the album needs to be done, finished, have the physical, and then you give your publicist an extra 3 months to work their magic, to get all that work in, and get magazines writing about you, get you all over the place if they're a good publicist. But you need to give them time to do their job, just like you had all that time prior getting the music together. So one thing that was really great about the the producer / music label that we were on in Indianapolis is that he came to everything. And so he was the guy, Joel Tucker was the guy who took pictures, took videos, and also put together videos for our band, which was so great. So we put together this little 1.5-minute promo. I can play, do you guys mind if I play this for you guys? Is that cool?
Please do, please do.
Great. And so the music is from the last track on the album, and then he put all of the information about the band within, trying, and like I said, being genuine and humanizing yourself to your audience can go a long way. And I think this video, he did a really great job of doing that. Zoom doesn't like me. Anyway, well, I won't waste the time for it to buffer. That's a bummer. But anyway, it was a really great video. How about I'll just leave it at that.
Could you put the link in the chat?
Yes, I would be happy to. I'll throw it in there at the end of the presentation for us. Or maybe I could share it. Let's see. Maybe it's up here. Yeah, I'll get it to you. Anyway, I was really grateful for him to do that work for us. It was another thing that we all didn't have to do, and we could worry more about the other aspects of the project. The last thing I want to talk about here is how do we monetize it? We've talked about all this money that we spend on it. How do we get it so that at least we break even or make even a little bit of money, which would be great. Especially in the age of consumption via the internet, it kind of brings down our monetizing value in some respects if we don't go at it in certain ways. And so one thing is to play gigs, is to go out, play music for people so they buy your CD at the gig when you get paid for playing that gig. And so what we were gonna do, unfortunately, it was right when the pandemic hit, is we were gonna play, we put together this extensive, almost 2-week tour across Indiana, Chicago, Illinois, Wisconsin. Then we're gonna go out to Denver, then we're gonna go to Arizona, because we all have contacts in those areas. Use your contacts to your advantage. And so we were gonna play all these gigs. And the thing, even though we weren't able to do it, the process was so great because we had to think about things that we didn't even realize were gonna pop up. So some things was like backline contact. Backline meaning we need to get all of our gear there, but we're all riding in one car. I can't put a drum set, a bass, a trumpet, a saxophone, and a piano in one car. So I need to get as much stuff to the venue I needed a drum set, I needed a bass minimum. And so that backline, I had all these contacts, oops, come back. I had all these contacts that I needed to get in touch with, one being my dad, holler at it, yeah, go Joe. But they hooked us up. Or we're going to hook us up, but they were going to meet us at the venue, give us the backline contact, have their phone and email there. Is it confirmed? Yes or no? That kind of stuff. Another way to monetize is that during the day, if you're doing nothing and you're already in the city, hit up a local high school, do a clinic for their jazz band, do a clinic for their, whatever you want. We could have done 5 clinics all on our different instruments. And so I had a few clinics set up at a couple high schools that I am in touch with. And then we were going to do one in Denver as well. That's a really great way to monetize and spend your day during the day, still making money and not sitting around and spending money, either doing whatever. And then other things, venue, sharing the bill. Are we playing along with is there another band there? And then the total money over here. But these were all things. Oh, and the other thing is sleeping arrangements. You're going to be in places like Chicago where I didn't have family. So where are we going to put the band up? Are we going to have to get a hotel, or do we have friends? Can we bunk on someone's couch? Like trying to keep the cost low so we can make money playing the gigs. So that's one of many ways to monetize album release. Also, we are selling physical CDs. We are going to during that process in hopes to make a bunch of our money back. But if you, let's say like that happened during a pandemic. So it was last April/May. We were going to go on that tour that was cut short. So then we had to come up. So now I want to talk about some different funding options that aren't just playing out and relying only on that. Crowdfunding is one, Kickstarter, GoFundMe, Indiegogo. There's all these different ones. You can do those. A lot of people are quite successful with those. And so I actually, in a band that I'm a sideman in Indianapolis, that's how we funded our previous album that we released in November last year. We crowdfunded. Gigs, like I just went through. Merchandise, meaning physical CDs, but also vinyl. Vinyl seems to be coming back. So That's a really big one. And clothing, merch, anything like that, hats, shirts, logos, stickers, backpacks. You can see it all, but merchandise, if you have that. Some other funding options that I see a lot of people go through are government funding and grants. And so Chicago, because I'm in Chicago, I'm always searching the Chicago ones. There's a Chicago artist funding. There's one in Indianapolis as well that is for the state of Indiana. There's cultural grants. There's National Endowment for the Arts grants, ASCAP and BMI awards and grants that can fund your projects like this. And then there's federal music grant. And this is just scraping the surface. There's so many out there that can help you. And this is my last caveat here, is use your resources at all times, especially at IU. There's so many people that have so many connections to the music industry, that mentors, musicians, and professors, even like other students around you, are aware of these options. You just need to ask the question. And so they'll know where these grants are that are hiding, that some people don't apply for, and you can get some quick cash to put together your album project and not have it all come out of your own pocket. So I think that's my last slide. Yes, there it is. There's my DIY. It's a lot of work, but it also is really worth it. So if you're planning on putting an album together, go for it. But Nathan, what do you got for me?
Nothing that thorough, and I don't have a slideshow, but I can tell you a little bit about the process. And I mean, since Akira is a solo pianist and Kari probably might do some solo harp, it might tie into what I did, which was a solo album. And I have done two, actually. Let me see here. So I'll just tell you a little bit about both of them. I'll go backwards. And there's like, I had so much, and I was sort of taking notes and sort of opening up. So I recorded my album here with Jamie Tagg, who's an audio engineering professor. I literally got the repertoire ready. I put it in order and contacted an audio engineer and said, here's what my project is. I lived in Malaysia for 6 years. It's pieces I either commissioned, arranged, or discovered while I was there. Would you be interested in recording this project? And he said yes. He is really expensive compared to what, but he's also a guitarist. He's built a guitar, and I play a type of guitar that has a certain lattice bracing that is very, very modern. And he tuned right into that. He knew exactly what my guitar was. He's developed a podium for cellists and people based on the technology, and so we kind of had a similar wavelength. And he wanted to do this super innovative way of recording, and I was good with that. And so I basically went into the studio and I recorded, and I looked at this in terms of being a peer review process. So what I did was I submitted it to a number of labels, and I could just go through some of those labels, and I will in a second, but I submitted it to Soundset, which is a label in Arizona. And I'll tell you why I chose it also. And basically what happens is I uploaded 3 MP3s to the website, and they wrote me back and said, yes, we would like to publish your album. The reason I went with them is because it was free to publish with them. And they do digital distribution through the Orchard, which is it goes out to all the major streaming platforms, which I think CD Baby does too. And my other album is on CD Baby, so I won't talk about it since Zach really covered that. Actually, I learned some stuff there. Thanks, dude. So I did this because I really feel like at this point in my career, I want my albums in catalogs with people. And so if I go up here and I type in guitar, I mean, and this was the other thing about this, is like a lot of the guitarists that came up are guys like Adam Del Monte and other guitarists, solo duo are in here. And this catalog has like this massive international guitar collection. And as it turns out, the guy who owns it was a professor of guitar at Arizona State University for a number of years and had been building this over 20 years silently in the background while he was managing his professorship. So I was like, yes, I want to be in a catalog so that when people go and they're like looking for somebody like Adam Del Monte and they Google guitar and they look at who else is in here, they will find me. And I feel like that's a good place to be right now. So that's how I settled on this. So the deal with Soundset is that, and I mean, if I type in piano, it's the same deal. I mean, this guy has just built an incredible catalog. The deal is you go through the peer review process. They say yes, it's free. They cover all the fees and everything. You just have to pay for the printing of the CDs, however many that is. And they keep 50, and it works under the umbrella of Albany Records. So Albany Records keeps 50. So you print, I printed 500 CDs. I gave 100 to the organization, 50 for Albany, 50 for them. And then, and they use those actually as, I wouldn't say they were publicists, but they did, I got a lot of reviews because of them. So they did a lot of work on my behalf. So, I mean, printing at 500 CDs was like about $1,000, I think. And that's what it was. So I paid for the recording, 1,000 for the printing, and then the design was done by the owner's wife, and it was $50 a page, including the cover. And I had a 4-page booklet, which, you know, like it's just that. And all of my reviews came back and they were like, loved the book, loved the commentary, loved learning about why this project was like cool and Malaysian and what have you. And so, yeah. So that's that. She did the design work, and then I had some design logo elements. I don't know, here, I'll show you. I don't know if you can see like my guitar logo, which is kind of cool. And then like that's a Malaysian kite that I had done just as like a vector image, and I sent that to them and they included it in. And yeah, I mean, that was basically it. Now, I can tell you that like, I submitted it to Soundboard Magazine, which is a classical guitar magazine, and I got a really nice review. I submitted it to Fanfare. Now, I did not pay for Fanfare to review it, although that is a thing, and they reviewed it anyways. I sent them 3 CDs, and I got 3 really great reviews. I sent it to CD Hot Lists, and they reviewed it. And then if I go over here to this, here are the other reviews. So I just kind of sprinkled my reviews around. I should probably just line them up on the right here. And that's that, you know, in a nutshell. Now, could I have done more? Yes. I did make these little videos. So if I go here and I type in Malaysia, my album comes up. And if I go to video, I made these advertisement videos to sort of brand the album and brand myself. Like, you know, let's see if we can watch one. What happened? Why did it?
There it is.
Oh wait, hold on. I've got to. And I literally did these as like kind of a, I mean, basically I did a little promotion on, so anyways, I mean, they're definitely homemade, you know. What happened to you guys? Oh, you're looking at my whole screen. So I did that, and that seemed to like kind of get me, you know, that got me traction. And I did get I got a very nice royalty check from this year. The other thing that you can do is go in and let me see here. Oh yeah, so they actually keep all of the reviews. When I get them, I send them to the guy, and he kind of puts them in there. But because it's Malaysian, I have a lot of Malaysian listeners, and it tells me that I have about 30 people that tune in regularly, and it shows me what playlists that I get in on Spotify. And that's the deal. Like, if you can get one song, and I found that they picked the shortest song on my album to put on the playlist. So if you can like just have one short song on your album, I know that sounds cheesy, but I have a feeling that and it like short flashy type thing, that's a way to go. And then if you can cross list songs between like classical, spa, study music, whatever, the more kinds of playlists that you can get on, the better your album sales will do, because that's kind of the deal now. All right, so let me go back to sharing my other screen here. It's a lot to manage by yourself. You know, you can only do so much. So that's my CD baby. Let's see what else I got here. Oh yeah. So I wanted to tell you about this because there's generally a release date. So there's a time where your album is going to be released, and it's finished and it's going to be released. And it's like, it could be like a 3-week or a 4-week, or it could even be 2 months, you know, it doesn't matter. And within that amount of time, if you can sell a certain number of albums, like 300, which is really hard for a solo album, because of the way that classical music sales operate, you could actually get on the Billboard charts. And so like that pre-sales that happened before the release date, like, you know, if you can get your parents to buy like 75 albums, and you can get like your grandmother to buy another 75 and just give them out to everyone in the church, and you can, you know, run a campaign to, you know, get all of your friends from the past 20 years to buy them. It is a possibility, you know, and the Billboard, you know, and that might be like kind of a cool kudos to put on your CV. The only caveat being, like, who knows, the LA Phil might release like the complete works of, like, you know, a new version of the Beethoven Symphony with like with turntable or something, and then you know, they're gonna outsell you, and then you don't make the charts. So that was one thing I wanted to mention, and there is a strategy to that, and it is worth having a conversation with somebody who knows how to do that, if it's something you're interested in, if it's like if it's a thing, you know, that you want to pursue. And then I was going to mention the playlist. So let me just show you some of the so I recorded with Soundset. I chose them because it was the right fit for me at this time. There is a sister company under that is, you know, Soundset is in Arizona, and then you've got Equilibrium, which is in Michigan. It's the same deal. There's no fee. You go through a peer review. If they like you, they accept you, and then you pay for the printing of the CDs, and you have to give them 100. So whether you print 500 or 1,000, it's up to you. But like it's going to be hard to get rid of 1,000 CDs, you know. And if you're giving them away or you're sending them to reviewers and that sort of thing, it's different. But 500 CDs is a lot. And then you got Parma Records. Now Parma, now I'm showing you from a classical perspective, so this probably works for you guys. Kari and Akira, yeah. Now Parma has a number of subcategories. So depending on what style of music you're playing, they'll have something that's more geared towards world music. They'll have a label that's more geared towards, you know, classical in the classical sense. They will cover just about everything, probably even jazz. It's $8,000 buy-in. They take care of all of the design work. They take care of the recording. They take care of the editing. They take care of everything from top to bottom, and it goes out in the Naxos catalog. And that's a pretty cool catalog to be in. You guys all know amazing recordings in Naxos, and you all know probably some pretty bad recordings in Naxos. Well, you know, it's an $8,000 buy-in, so you don't have to be good to get into Naxos. You just have to have the money. And that's kind of the business, unfortunately, nowadays. So not everything is pure peer-reviewed. So anyways, Parma is a good, it's a quality. From what I've seen, it looks like a pretty quality deal. And here is a Chicago-based, a new music label, and I'm not quite sure what their deal is. I just found them actually. New Focus Records. Again, I'm not quite sure what their deal is. I sort of hoard these things, but there's a lot of record deals. There are a lot of record companies out there. Reward Music. Generally, there is some kind of no, that's not, sorry. KNS Classical. To get, okay, so this is is this a Spanish? Distinguished Classical, hold on. Spain, right. So there are some international, the deal with this is $4,000. So there are international labels that, and I do believe they also have a peer review process. So you can like submit your recording and they'll say, yes, trust me, but they call it a peer review. And after that, you pay like $4,000, but then you have an international publication with your album and you're in an international catalog. And there is something legit to that. Okay, and then these are 4 recording studios. The other one I wanted to show you, well, you guys know Naxos. You can contact Naxos. And again, there's probably a bit of a peer review process to it. You'll submit your recording, and I believe that it's $5,000 to get in on Naxos. Now, if you have like an incredible position somewhere, they might be willing, their business model used to be that they would pay $1,500 as a flat fee and they would record you and take care of everything, and that's that. The other one are like new music labels. So Innova Records are really good for new music. And they do amazing things. They take care of their artists. They will nominate their artists for Grammys and do things like that. So they're about a $6,500 buy-in. And again, with new music, there's a lot more grants out there. There's a lot more funding. And the really good thing about new music also is that if you do an album of like, let's say all composers from underserved communities within the Midwest, there could be grant money out there, not just to produce the album, but to like tour with it. So if you're really smart and think about a project that intersects with what granting organizations like the Indiana Arts Commission or Arts Midwest or Chamber of Music America or whatever these granting organizations would fund, or what, there's always like a trend of what they're funding. And if you can build a project under the umbrella of what that trend is, and then, meet those groups, the underserved or the isolated groups within those regions, which are currently the bullet words, then you can get money. And it would not be unheard of to get up to like, if you get like 7 or 8 grants out, you could raise 10 grand easy, or more, So I know I met the former owner of Innova. I think he's an Irish guy, and he just had his finger on the pulse of the industry. And so like a lot of new music organizations are the way to go. So what else was I going to say about recording? Yeah, don't be afraid to take any project, no matter what it is. If you want to record it and put it out there, it might be the most expensive business card you have, but having your name out there, being searchable, having, students and faculty and others, concert promoters and people who, who are looking will look. And if you're out there and they find you and they like what they see, your chances of getting hired are better. So it is absolutely worth it to put a project together. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg. I can't, the Jacob Belzer thing kills me because that's cheaper than some of the students here will charge, So you could get a student to record. I mean, piano is not so complicated to record compared to like a full drum set and with a bass in the same room and whatever, you could get somebody to do that. And there are recording studios in Indianapolis that have pretty decent pianos that you can use. And it doesn't have to be the album that floats you for the rest of your career. It's just the first one that helps you get your name out. And even if you do a self-publication through something like CD Baby, it's worth it because you're going to be on all the streaming sites. You're going to be on Spotify, and you're going to be where all the kids are going to listen and look and find you, right, Kari? Where else? Where do you go? Where do you go to find people? YouTube. You can put yourself on YouTube through Spotify. I'm sorry, through CD Baby. I feel like I've been talking way too much. Somebody save me. Somebody save me.
I did see your question in the chat that I steamrolled over about ASCAP and BMI.
Oh yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah, just real quick, it's per musician. So you are attached to ASCAP or BMI. So if anything with your name on a composition or whatever goes through ASCAP or BMI, they will pay. Like it'll pay you, because ours was a collective, so the whole album couldn't go under one person's name. So we had to individually go in and like, do it.
Did you make any royalties from ASCAP or BMI for 2020?
Barely any. Yeah, not too many. We didn't. Most of our sales came from individual. Like everyone got 25 CDs or 50 CDs. I can't remember what the number was, and that it was like $10 per CD. So they make whatever they can off of those. And
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do it, but there has to be a way to get one track from your album on like United Airlines flights that are going international. And there has to be one way to get your one album on that like grocery store playlist that's happening, and that is like the industry connection that, obviously they want people that are recognizable, but if they can work a deal out with some smaller artist like you or me or whatever, and they could get that half price, why wouldn't they?
Right. Yeah, I'm the band that I'm in Indianapolis is a hip hop jazz fusion thing going on, but we created one song that is completely like pop, and it was the exact point was to get on playlists, and we are on playlists now, and it's really helped us. So that's a big, yeah. It's definitely not like our favorite song, but it's super catchy, short, has a great hook kind of thing. So yeah, that's a big deal. But are there any questions from anyone else? I know we're like right up to it, Kari. Sorry.
You're good. Akira, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
Good.
Kira, you've been so patient and awesome just to listen to us babble about the music industry.
No, it's been very interesting. It's a lot of stuff that I didn't know or didn't know the extent of, and it was very helpful just to kind of hear about both of your experiences.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. I appreciate it.
So you registered with BMI and ASCAP as just a performer.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, performer and composer, because everyone wrote a song on the album. And so I don't know which one. ASCAP must be the one that protects composers, and BMI, I might be flipping it. But like one protects composers and one protects performers. And so if you're part of both, then you're good. And so you can get money from both sides. So yeah, I think I'm part of both. But yeah, we all had to individually go into CD Baby. But if it's your own CD, then you only have to do it once, obviously. So yeah, that was a world I didn't know about very much. And honestly, in both music schools that I've been to, we didn't talk about too much. So those are great things to know about, because you need to make money somehow. So those are, get that cash.
Got to get the cash.
That's right.
Well, thank you both so much for all of your information. We'll be posting this on the YouTube channel for everyone to watch later. So
no, don't do that.
I'm gonna watch it later. So
thanks, Kari. Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Have a great weekend.
See you later.
Bye.